with a realtor might be one of the steps that myself as a leader. I know another piece of this is that I get, in my previous job, I used to work for Habitat, and there's a lot of local, in Kent County anyway, a lot of folks who are tied into credit counseling, and I think of ICCF and Lighthouse and Habitat, and there's quite a few others actually. You gave me a nice list of folks in the Kent County area, so there are a number of folks out there who are in the middle of all this discussion. So,
yes.
Mary, can you tell me more about the housing counselor and what they can do to help out the homeowners?
They are a organization that can step in and evaluate that family's situation. It's very difficult for families to be objective. You know, they're in the house, they're passionate about the house, they want to stay in the house. They may be struggling to make the payments, they don't know where to turn. Well, that homeownership counselor can step in, evaluate their situation, perhaps make adjustments with them on their budget, and then also negotiate with that homeowner and their mortgage lender on perhaps a loan modification or a workout package that will enable that household to keep that home.
Okay. And those are folks that, again, you connect with through some of these local,
Yes.
the ICCF or the,
Yes.
maybe the realtors might have a connection
Yes.
there. Okay, great. Why don't more people call agencies like MISTA for help as soon as they realize that they're in trouble? You know, is it an embarrassment? Are they just unaware? Help us understand that.
Yeah, we receive approximately 1,000 hits on our website a day, about 300 phone calls a day, and consistently we're hearing households will start having difficulty. They'll say, it'll be okay next month. I'll catch up. You know, I'll get beyond this. Well, that next month comes, they haven't done anything. The problem has gotten worse. So, you know, they need to get on the phone right away with their mortgage lender, get in touch with a credit counselor, obtain the assistance. Don't ignore it. Be objective. Be honest with themselves, and ask for help.
So if they know they're going to miss a payment,
Right.
They ought to call their lender, basically,
Correct.
and begin the conversation.
Right.
All right. So if they know they're going to miss it, does it make any sense for them to, I suppose every situation is different, but to even make a partial payment? I mean, or is that something they should work out with
They
their
should
lender?
always work with their lender. You know, that should be one of the first calls that they make. Lenders are not in the business of, you know, they don't want to be real estate holders. They do want to help. But the quicker that household makes that call, the better their options, or the more options that will be available to that household.
Okay. Well, Mary, as you know, the Senate has begun working on legislation. In fact, I believe very, very recently, some negotiations between the House and the Senate have kind of created some fruit, created results. So,
Yes.
and I know you have been in the middle of some of that. So can you tell us kind of what it looks like things are going to happen through some state legislation?
Yes. Right now it looks like there is a 90-day moratorium, for lack of better words, for households. They will receive a letter from their lender, and in that letter it will contain credit counselors in their area. They have a certain number of days to contact that credit counselor, and then with the assistance of that credit counselor, they will work with their lender to obtain a modification package that will work for that household. In that negotiation process, there's a 90-day window where the lender will not proceed with a foreclosure proceedings. So what it's basically doing is reaching out to that homeownership counselor with that household and making it mandatory that they obtain that guidance.
So it's really forcing communication.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I have talked to lenders who have said, well, they've been trying to contact the person who is behind, but they won't answer their phone.
Yeah.
Or they won't answer their mail. In fact, one of the lenders I found out, they were working very hard. They wanted to keep people in their homes. They were actually going out knocking on doors
Right.
and saying to folks, we want to work with you. So there's been some really good lenders, I think, out there. You know, they're not all bad.
Right.
A lot of them are really wanting to have a family stay in their home and do as much, like you said earlier. They don't want to own that home. They want to do all the upkeep and all those kinds of things. So this will force some of that to happen. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Now, my understanding is I've attended many of these, but this just in a few weeks or so, there's a very large housing event here that MISHDA is always a huge supporter of. And one of their efforts is going to be kind of educating on the foreclosure piece of what's happening. Can you tell us a little bit about what that event is?
Yeah, it's the State Affordable Housing Conference. It will be held here in Lansing, June 1st through June 3rd. And what this conference does, it brings all agencies, all groups, all organizations that their main focus is housing and in affordable housing to collaborate with best practices, share ideas, and our attendance typically is in the thousands. It is one of the best conferences that I have personally been to and have walked away with some valuable information.
And from my attending these in the past with Habitat and other housing interests for me, I believe it is either the largest or the second largest in the nation.
Yes.
So of all the other states out there, Michigan is here. We're very good at something. You know, we've been very bad at a lot of things. Here's one area, and I think it's a combination because there's realtors that attend this. There are providers in the nonprofit arena. It's a little of everybody. There's developers. Really an interest in having Michigan housing be the best possible out there. So it's a conference that everyone should attend. And MISHDA has a website, and I'm sure it's probably all the information is there. So.
Yes.
Jim, what's the most common question people at risk of foreclosure are asking their realtor? And then, if they ask you that question, what's your response, or how do you respond?
Great question, Mark. In fact, Mary touched on this earlier. Sometimes the hardest question to get from them is the first question, to get them to admit that they're in trouble, they're going to be tardy on some payments. Then once we get over that obstacle, quite often the first question is what do I do, where do I turn to for help? And quite often our first response back that we try to impress upon our members is to be reassuring to them, to say that this is okay, we need to talk about it. There's other families that are going into default. There's nothing to be afraid of or ashamed of here. We can get through this together. And usually that response of reassurance that this is going to be okay, we're going to survive, you are going to make it, is what then brings on that open floodgate of other questions and concerns that they've been troubled with for months, but they've been unable to come forward to ask the questions.
Yes.
It's that communication piece is
crucial.
It is crucial, and it seems so simple. And I think a lot of folks, I mean, we talked about it. They're scared, and that brings me to the next question. Really, maybe Jim, you can help us on this. The timeline for somebody who's, thinking they're going to go into foreclosure, and some people think that it happens right away, and others may think they can drag it out for a year or two. What's kind of the general? I know that's probably tough, but what is kind of the general time frame of somebody who begins to miss 1 month's payment or two? What happens?
The actual process, in my opinion, starts months before the actual legal process starts. This is where the homeowner looks at their finances and says, we're going to be behind in payments, discretionary money is tightening up, and they actually know that they've got to start rebudgeting dollars. Then it starts with a few slow payments, missed payments. At that time, the bank responds with maybe some phone calls, which the lenders will use bullying and intimidation tactics, which is not good for the public. They respond by maybe making some payments, but then there's late fees attached. By the time the actual foreclosure process starts, where the consumer is maybe 2 or 3 months behind in payments, and the legal process starts, usually through advertisement here in Michigan, then there's newspaper ads run that shows that this property is now in foreclosure. Again, kind of an old tradition, but it's very intimidating for the consumer. and belittlement becomes prevalent. Then there's literally a court action. There's what's called a sheriff's sale.